Hey friends, welcome back to my channel. If you're new and you're stopping by for the first time, welcome. My name is Melissa and I am a pregnant mama of 2, and I love to do all things crafty on a budget, especially Dollar Tree DIYs, farmhouse decor, trash to treasures, signs, and so much more. So if that's something you're into, I would love it if you would stick around by clicking the red subscribe button and then tapping the bell and all to be notified every single time I upload. So for today I have 5 really easy, really quick farmhouse Dollar Tree DIYs for you. So with all that being said, let's jump right into today's DIYs.
I want to be daring, baby, dance the night away. I let my head down if I want.
To start off, I take this chalkboard, I guess it's a sign that I got from Dollar Tree, and I just start by taking the plastic off, and then it had chalk in the back, so I put that aside, and then I just throw away the plastic. I then just take my scissors and snip off that hanger, and I take my hammered spray paint and this windmill from Dollar Tree, and I go outside and I spray paint that. While that's drying, I take my square dowels. These are always linked down in my Amazon favorites, and I just go ahead and measure all the way around and then mark each piece. That way I can go ahead and cut it. Now I have my mini miter saw here. I love this thing just because it's so easy to use on a countertop, and this is linked down below. My old link did not work, so I did link a very similar one to this. It's just a different color. Next, I just take my finger sander and I sand off the jagged edges, and then take my favorite stain, Jacobean, and I go ahead and stain those. Now, I use paper towel to stain. You can use whatever you like. This is just what I prefer because it's easy just to throw away. And, you know, I've just always worked with paper towel unless it's a really big piece or a tricky piece, like it's hard to get into the corners, then I'll use a brush, but mostly I just use paper towel. I then just go ahead and stain this little wooden tray in Jacobean as well. So while those are drying, I go back to this chalkboard sign and I give it a really good coat. I actually give it 2 coats of white Waverly chalk paint. I use my favorite brush. I talk about these brushes all the time just because they're so big and they paint really smooth. They're linked down in my Amazon favorites as well. So while I had this brush out and before I rinsed it out, I went ahead and took this square piece and just painted that circle part. So while those are drying, I then take this square piece. I had this left over from Christmas and a piece of scrapbook paper. I just flip that around. I mark where the sign, you know, how big the sign will be, and then I go ahead and cut that. I make sure that it's going to fit, and then before I glue that down, I just take some ink Waverly chalk paint and I paint all the way around this sign just on the outside edges because you're not going to see the front or the back, so I wasn't too worried about that. But I do just go ahead and paint the sides, and that way it'll look nicer than this brown color in my opinion, because I probably would have left it had I used white paint or something, but I don't think gray and brown look that great together. But of course it's always your preference what you want to do. Next, I just take my glue stick, and you guys, I like to use glue stick because you get a smoother surface when you use a glue stick. So I just glue the entire back of my scrapbook paper. I make sure that the grain of the faux wood in the scrapbook paper is going in the direction that I want it to go. And then before I go ahead and smooth everything down, I go ahead and make sure that it's in the right spot. After I get it in the right spot, I just smooth it down, and I do set that aside to dry because there were some edges that I needed to cut off and I didn't want it to slip around. Next, we go back to this square decor piece with the circle in the middle, and I just take my chip brush and some white Waverly chalk paint and just dry brush the inside as well as the outside and the border around it, if that's the right word for it. I don't know, but I just like to do this just because I think that it really brings, you know, the piece together and makes it look more rustic. I then just dry brush all the way around after I dry brush the edges. So I went on my computer and I knew that I wanted to draw a cotton on here. I tried to sketch it out on a piece of paper, but I didn't like the way it looked. So I did just go ahead to Google. I typed in cotton stem, found the one that I like. I copied that picture, pasted it in Word, and then printed it out, cut it out, and now I'm just tracing it on to that middle piece with a piece of graphite paper, and the graphite paper is always linked in Amazon favorites as well. I then take my black paint pen and I go over that, and my paint pens are also linked in my Walmart favorites. I love these paint pens just because they last a really long time and they're nice and jet black, and my stuff always comes out looking so nice, so I definitely recommend these. After I have my cotton stem traced and went over with my paint pen, I just go ahead and take my chip brush and some ink Waverly chalk paint and dry brush all the way around that circle. And then I made two simple bows. I have showed you guys how to do these bows in a previous video. I'll link it in the cards above. And then I just glue the jute twine bow to the gingham bow, and then I glue that down to the corner. I wasn't too sure if I wanted to put it in the middle or the corner. I'm glad I put it in the corner, but let me know what you guys would do. Would you put your bow in the middle or off to the side like I did? And that is it for that one, you guys. So quick and easy. Next, I have this little jar, I don't know, I guess you want to call it like a milk jug or creamer jug from Dollar Tree, and it had this sticker on there, but I think that it was just wording with a piece of plastic over it. I don't know. I tried to peel the plastic off, but the wording wasn't coming off, so I just took a putty knife and just scraped it off. I then had these rub-on transfers from Dollar Tree, and I was so eager to use these, you guys. I love the way these look. I don't know, just something about them, but I do just go ahead and cut out Farm Fresh, and you do have to cut each individual letter, which no big deal. It took me a few minutes, but it doesn't bother me. After that, I just took, there's a white backing on these. You just take the white backing off and then you lay it down. It's not really like a sticker. I don't know how to explain it, but I just lay these out how I want it. Be careful when you lay these out, because once you lay it down, you're kind of stuck with the placement. So I wish I kind of would have played around with the placement before I laid them down fully, but you live and you learn, right? Anyway, next I just took my fingernail at first and just kind of rubbed everything in. Now, these are kind of a pain until you get used to how they work. So it just takes some patience to, you know, use something to rub them on, kind of like scratching it and then slowly pulling the letters off. I found that if I took my knife and just ran my knife across like I'm doing here, they come out much better and much easier. So again, if you use these, just take your time and make sure that you don't pull it completely off until you see if it is transferred down or not. I then just took some little vines and put those on the bottom, as well as 2 stars on each side of the words. And that was it for that one. Next, we take this other square decor piece and this is the one with the scrapbook paper. So by this point it was dry, and I just took my knife and onto a hard surface, I just went ahead and cut the excess off. There was only a little tiny bit on the edges, but I knew that I wanted to dry brush, so I definitely wanted to get rid of those edges. Next I have this stencil, and I've said it before, I don't really like to use the stencil as a stencil. I like to just trace it on and then go back in with my paint pen, so that is exactly what I did. So after I traced it on and then went over it with my paint pen, I take my black Waverly chalk paint and a chip brush, and again I just dry brush all the way around this piece. I don't know if it's getting old, you guys, doing this, but I don't know why I just feel like I have to do this to everything. I feel like it looks so plain if I don't. But anyway, I made a triple bow. I did my triple bow the exact same way I do a regular bow, just with 3 strands, glued it to the corner, and that was it for that one. So moving on to the tray. After the stain was dry, I took this Chalk Couture transfer and some white Waverly chalk paint, and I just stenciled on the chicken. That was it, no wording, no nothing. Next I just take some hot glue and I run it on one side of this tray on the inside, and I just take some jute and I go all the way around the inside edge with jute twine. Now I'm making this video, you guys, because I just want to show you that everything doesn't always have to be really complicated. You can achieve a beautiful piece of farmhouse decor with just a few simple things, and you don't always have to add a lot to it. Like just this chicken on here looks so cool and I love it. I have it up on I have a little corner shelf, and it just looks really good up there. So again, I just wanted to show you guys that you don't always have to spend a lot of money or spend a whole bunch of time to achieve that farmhouse rustic look. So I didn't mention it, but I did just dry brush all the way around that piece and around the handles, and then that was it for that one. So last but not least, we're going to work on this farmhouse sign. So after the spray paint had dried, I'm going to galvanize this. If you guys have been around, you know that I've done this a bunch of times as well. And I just take a natural sponge, some elephant, and I go over it. I then take some white Waverly chalk paint and I just lightly go over the elephant with the white Waverly chalk paint. And I didn't spend a lot of time showing you guys because I've went into depth of the galvanizing technique before, so I will link that in the cards. I then just glued down this windmill with some hot glue, and then I printed out farmhouse. I left all the information in the description box, took my graphite paper, I traced that on, and then again went over the word farmhouse with my black paint pen. After I did that, I then go ahead and glue down the border that we were working on earlier. So I start at the bottom. I always start at the bottom, and then I'll do the sides and then the top, just to make sure that the border will fit together really nicely and snug. I've made the mistake before to do the top piece before I do the side pieces, and then there's gaps in between and it looks stupid. So definitely learn my lesson on that one. But then I take some antique wax by Waverly and I just go around the edges to make this windmill look old and rusted. You know, as usual, it's your preference if you like it regular or if you like it with the rusty look. Next, I take my white Waverly chalk paint once again, and I go ahead and I dry brush all the way around this as well as the inside, just to make it look more cohesive and I really love the way that this turned out. It's so simple, so easy, yet it came out so good, and I would be proud to sell this. Last but not least, I go ahead and I take a picture hanger, a sawtooth hanger. I measure it to make sure that it's even. I mark where the holes were, and then I just take some hot glue. You guys, you don't need to use the screws. This is light enough to be held by hot glue. I then just glue that down where the holes were, and that is it, you guys. Please let me know in the comments down below which one was your favorite. I know we kind of went through those a bit quick, but you know, again, these don't take long and they're so easy to make. So don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. I would love to have you in this crafty family. Please give this video a big thumbs up. And I forgot to mention that I do have a P.O. box now. So if you guys want to send me letters, people ask to send the baby stuff. So definitely check that out if that's something that you're interested in. Again, I've had a lot of questions about that. So anyway, guys, thank you so much for stopping by. I love each and every one of you, and I will catch you guys next time. Bye.
Watch you as you drive. Do you know I'm looking? And I can't help but smile. Do you know how much I love you? You put my favorite song on. I put my feet up, and we just sing along.